Students watching, welcome to our very first writing lesson. For writing, we're going to be doing something for the next several lessons. We're going to be focusing on making our very best handwriting possible. And we're going to talk about how we do that, how we're going to neatly form every letter. We'll go lesson by lesson and we'll practice and learn each of the letters together, both the lowercase and the capital letters. But in a few lessons after that, we get to do something exciting in first grade. We will be writing together sentences and finally stories. But we want to begin by learning how to write neatly so that we can write well. Now I want you to notice behind me something that I have on my board. Do you see my cursive handwriting? Now, our handwriting is going to be very important because it's going to show others who we are and how we take our time and do things well. But I want you to notice how I have houses that are on my board. And within those houses are different lines. There are going to be places that our letters live. There are 3 places that a letter can live. It can live in the upstairs, it can live in the downstairs, or it can live in the basement. Let me say that again so we can start to remember and see where our letters will live. They can live in the upstairs, the downstairs, or they can live in the basement. Now, to help us remember where a letter might live, I want to show you some things. And students watching, boys and girls in this classroom, you watch. Our letters can live in the upstairs, the downstairs, or the basement. Everyone stand and let's say that together. Upstairs, downstairs, basement. Let's do it again. Upstairs, downstairs, basement. Nice job. You can have a seat. Now, within our places in our house where we have the upstairs, downstairs, and basement, you can also see some lines that are going to be very helpful to us. At the very top, this line is called the ceiling. Below that is called the upstairs midline. Underneath this is just a little bit thicker. It's called the dotted line. Then we have the downstairs midline, we have the pink carpet, and finally we have the floor of our basement. Now these lines will be important because these lines will show us where we need to start and also where we need to stop. And they'll help us have neat, consistent, and careful writing. Now, as we're looking at the writing on my board, can you already start to see the letter that we're going to learn together? Maybe our students watching and boys and girls in this classroom already have seen this cursive letter. But before we're ready to write, I want to show you something. And right over here, it looks a lot like the same letter, doesn't it? But this is a warm-up. Many times in many lessons, we'll do a warm-up. And that warm-up is just going to get our hand ready to make the letter that we'll be doing for that lesson. So as I write on my board to do the warm-up, students watching and boys and girls in this classroom, just grab your pointer finger. This is going to be your warm-up finger, and I want you to do these loops right along with me. Now notice as I do these loops, good job, Kobe. I'm doing my best to make sure I'm touching the lines. I'm not picking up my chalk. You're not moving your finger except to keep those loops going. Because in cursive writing, many times our letters connect and we want to have smooth and careful connections. Why don't we try it again? Go ahead and get your pointer finger up in the air. Students watching, you join us, and let's just do some loops. And those loops are going to help us get ready to write our letter. All right, hands are down and we're ready to look at our very first letter that we'll be learning. The letter we're going to learn is lowercase letter E. Now notice my card. There are 2 letter E's on it. First is our capital letter E, and we'll learn how to make that in another lesson. But in this lesson, we're going to focus on neatly and carefully writing lowercase letter E. I want you to notice where lowercase letter E lives. Students watching, tell me, upstairs, downstairs, or basement? And check their answer for us. Aria, where does lowercase letter E live? Upstairs, downstairs, or basement?
Upstairs.
Oh, she says lives up in the upstairs. Students watching, is that what you said? And Hayden, do you agree with Aria? Does letter E live in the upstairs, lowercase E? Yes or no? Stand to answer. No, where does it live, Hayden?
On the pink carpet.
It does. It lives in the downstairs, and that's where we want our lowercase letter E to be. So notice where we're going to start. We're going to start right here on the pink carpet. We're going to curve all the way up to that dotted line, curve back down, touch the carpet, and stop at the downstairs midline. Watch me as I trace this again. We're going to start right here on the pink carpet. We're going to curve all the way up to the dotted line, curve back down, touch the pink carpet, and stop at the downstairs midline. Now, I want us to take just a moment and I want us to watch a special video. And this video is going to show us how we make the letter E. Now, I want you to notice as we do this that on the letter E, the person who's writing on our video, they're not going to go very quickly. Instead, they're going to take their time. I want you to be ready to take your time when it's time for you to write your letter E in just a little bit. So there we notice our capital and lowercase e. We're starting right on the pink carpet. We're going to curve up to the dotted line. Curve back down, touch the pink carpet, and stop at the downstairs midline. Now, let's see if you can watch me as I trace our lowercase e on our board. I want to be careful to start at the right places, touch the right lines, and stop at the right place, the same as you need to do when you do your writing. Notice again, Savvy, we're starting right here on the pink carpet. We're going to curve all the way up to the dotted line. Curve back down, touch the carpet, and stop right at the downstairs midline. Students watching, boys and girls in our classroom, go ahead and get your pointer finger ready. Let's make a gorgeous lowercase e together. Get right on that pink carpet. We're going to curve all the way up to the dotted line. Come back down, touch that carpet, and stop at the downstairs midline. Now, watch me as I trace our letter E again. Hayden has her eyes right on me. She's going to have a gorgeous lowercase e. We're starting right at the pink carpet. We're going to curve up to the dotted line, come back down, touch that carpet, and stop at the downstairs midline. Now, boys and girls in this classroom and students watching, we're going to be ready in just a moment to come do some practice. Either students watching on your paper in front of you, your scrap paper, or students watching over here, or students in our classroom over here on the board. And students watching, boys and girls in our classroom, we're going to see if Miss Howe can take her time and neatly write a letter E. Remember, we're going to start, I forgot the name of this line. Students watching, what's the name of the line that we need to start our lowercase e on? And help me out. Emery, what's the name of this line? The pink carpet. The pink carpet is right. Next time, stand to answer. I'm starting at the pink carpet. I'm going to curve up to the dotted line, touch that dotted line, and stop right at the downstairs midline. All right, students watching and boys and girls in our classroom, let's see how Tanner and Ava did with writing. Let's see if they got every single part right as they made their lowercase e. Oh, I can see right here that I like the way Ava started right there on her pink dot. And she has a nice curve and she stops at a good place as well. Good job, Ava. Over here, Tanner has really good slant. Did you notice that our cursive letter E has slant? It's not standing up straight and tall. It leans just a little bit to the side. So Tanner and Ava, what a great first start to our cursive letter E. Now let's come over here and let's see if I can write our cursive letter E one more time. Now while I write it on the board, students watching and boys and girls in our classroom, why don't you have your pointer finger ready and we'll do it right along together. Ready? Here we go. Get that pointer finger. Good job, Benjamin. We're going to start right on the pink carpet. We'll curve up to the dotted line. Loop back down, touch the carpet, and stop at the downstairs midline. Good job. You can put your pointer finger down. Trey, I saw your letter E in the air. It looks really good. Keep it up. And notice how we touch every single line when we make this letter. Now, before we begin our worksheet together, students watching and boys and girls in this classroom, I want to talk to you about how important it is to be a neat writer. So there's some things, Savvy, that we're going to be looking for as we write. One of the first things we're going to look for is the way that we sit. We want to have nice, neat posture as we sit in our seats. We're not going to lean over our workstation. We're not going to be far away so that we have to lean to get to our paper. But instead, we'll sit up straight and tall and be close to where our paper is. The next thing we want to do is we want to have a nice pace, slow and steady. Not going so quickly we're not touching those lines, but really taking our time and making our writing look neat. We also want to be careful about the way that we hold our pencil. Now, students watching and boys and girls in this classroom, I think many of you would have a pencil similar to this, and I also have something on my pencil called a gripper. And that gripper is going to help me keep my pencil just the right way. It doesn't lean down on my hand. Instead, it stays up just a bit. And also notice the nice sharp point I have on my pencil. A sharp pencil helps us have good, neat writing. So we want to hold our pencil correctly as we write. And the last thing we want to work on is we want to work on the way that our paper is slanted. Now, students watching and boys and girls in this classroom, you may have had your on-site teacher or your teacher here help you by putting a dot or a sticker to let you know exactly how to slant your paper. Now, I am right-handed, so that means I'm going to slant my paper so that the corner touches this green star. But students watching and boys and girls in our classroom, if you write with your left hand, instead your paper is going to slant the other direction, and that's going to give you just the slant that you need for your paper. I think we're ready to begin with our lowercase e. So right in front of you, you should have your paper. First thing though, let's check our posture. Are you sitting up straight and tall? Now, let's get our paper just the right way. If you need to slant that paper, go ahead, or if you need to tuck in just a bit to your table, go ahead. So students watching and boys and girls in our classroom, if you need to tuck in. Now, let's go ahead and let's take the corner of our paper and let's put it right on either that sticker or star. Now pick up your pencil and have it in your hand. Check the way you're holding that pencil. And let's begin by writing our name neatly at the top. Notice that place right at the top where you need to write your name. Good, so students watching, you're joining us, boys and girls in this classroom, we're getting that pencil and we'll write our name neatly at the top. Good, Savvy, go ahead and have your pencil in your hands.
I forget how to write my
Okay,
name.
why don't we do it together then? We'll work together. Nice. Now, even if you're still working on your name, let's do something. Do you see that blue letter E right at the top of your paper? Let's put our pencil point on the red dot of that blue letter E, and let's carefully trace that letter E together. So we're going to start right on the pink carpet. We're going to curve all the way up to the dotted line, loop back down, touch the carpet, and stop at the downstairs midline. Go to your warm-up and let's do those loops together. So students watching, you join right along with us. Good job, Hayden. Good, you got it. Looks really good. Slow and steady. That's fine. We're off to a good start with that tray. Good job, Ava. Good job touching those lines. Nice. Victoria, so careful. That's okay. We'll finish it a little later. All right, even if you're not finished with your warm-up, let's go to our very first house. And let's carefully trace that letter E. Good. Got it, Hayden. Now, students watching, boys and girls in this classroom, let's pause for just a moment, put your pencils down and have your eyes right on me. In a moment, we're going to keep writing on our letter E side of our paper, but you'll notice there's another side to this paper as well. And on the other side, we're going to learn how to write some numbers together. And I want to show you exactly how we're going to write each of these numbers. First is our number 1. Number 1 lives in the upstairs and in the downstairs. We're going to start right at the ceiling and slant down to the pink carpet. Take your pointer finger, put it in the air. Got it, that was fast, Aria. Let's start right at the ceiling, slant down to the pink carpet. Good job, you can put your pointer finger down. Our next number that we're going to be writing is the number 2. Number 2 is a little bit more challenging. It's not going to start on a line. Instead, it will start partway between the ceiling and the upstairs midline. We'll curve, touch the ceiling, slant down to the pink carpet, put just a little curl, come up, and stop. Take your pointer finger, students watching and boys and girls in the classroom, and let's trace this number 2 together. Start underneath the ceiling, curve up to the ceiling, slant down to the carpet, curve, and stop. Now, students watching, I want you to continue working on both the lowercase letter e side and the number side of this paper with your on-site teacher.